Okay, good morning to all of you in the classroom.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. Okay, let me do a screen share first. Okay, can you all see the screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
So this is what I had given you a kind of a form to fill up yesterday, and most of okay, can you? I am getting an echo out of one of your systems. Can you mute it?
Is it fine now?
Yeah. Hi. Hello. Check.
Is it fine, sir?
Hello. Check 1 2. Yeah, I think it's better. I think it's better. Yeah. Okay, if someone has joined from his or her phone or any other device, please mute that device. I think that's where the feedback is coming from. Okay. Your voice is not very clear. No, it's absolutely mute. I think if somebody has to talk, they can talk me from their phone. Use the phone as an audio.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah, I think that's the tool that you need to use. Use the phone as the audio tool. Okay, so let's get started. So yesterday, most of you have filled up that very short form that I had sent you, and the reason why I had sent you was I wanted to know where your thoughts have been after the session, and also, to show you that what is the role of data in advertising, right? So I collected some data from you, and with that data, I wanted to analyze and see how many of you have understood the session, how many of you are interested in what specific field and stuffs like that. And I think that's where today's entire discussion will begin. So look what I found. Okay, and that's very interesting. This is what I found. 54% of you want to get into the creative side of the thing. 23% wants to get into the think tank, and the other 23 who wants to get into the both. Either they're superbly talented or they have not understood anything in yesterday's session because they're still confused. So for them, I think by the end of today or by end of tomorrow, you'll be much clearer, and I'll probably have lesser percentage people who want to get into both. Where they are not very clear where they want to get into. They think I'm good in both, and which is not a bad idea to start with. But then as an individual, you need to find out where you fit better, because you can't work in both the departments at the same time. So you need to therefore find where you fit, right? Okay. Another thing that I figured out from that little research that I did that there is still a little doubt between a strategy and ideation. A lot of you have written that you want to do ideation, and then you say that I want to be in think tank or I want to be in creative. So I'll open up this question to the entire team here. If somebody, or many of you can come and tell me what is the difference between a strategy and ideation. So what is the difference between strategy and ideation? So that's where we start today our discussion. So anyone in the audience who's willing to take this up? One of you? Yeah, I see someone coming up. No? Anyone coming up and trying this? Use your phone if you want to, if you are connected in the phone.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Prashasti, you're in the classroom. Yeah, right at the back, it seems. Yeah. Yeah. I can see the curtains behind you. Tell me. Yeah. Sit down.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
tell me.
I would like to try. Sir, according to me, ideation means that coming up with a basic idea about what you want to do, and the strategy means how you will be executing it.
Okay, your strategy means how you want to execute, and idea means coming up with a thought. I think that's what you want to. Anyone else? Anyone else trying to add to that?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Anjali, yeah. Tell
Yes,
me.
sir. So, yes, strategy is about the steps we will follow related to a topic we have given, and just like we are writing an article, we have given to write an article. So, the
Hmm.
idea about the topic, the idea we will think about the article we will writing on is about the ideation part, I believe.
Okay, and what's the strategy part?
Strategy is how we will go about it, how we will plan about it, the steps.
I'll plan about it. Okay, good. Anyone else adding to that? Any other thoughts? Yeah, Kavita was coming online. Yeah,
So,
Kavita. Yeah, Kavita.
yes, so strategy is a planned and executed thought. Like an idea is a rough overview of the imagination we have been processing. But strategy we have planned and processed and then executed.
Okay, the strategy is planning, processing, idea is imagining. I think that's the space where most of you have been, and that's not a bad space to be in. But I'll just want to clarify it very simply. So strategy is planning a way. When it comes to advertising, Prashasti, you want to add anything?
Sir, Sanjana this side.
Oh, Sanjana, yeah, Sanjana, tell me.
So, I just wanted to say, ideation is what you want to do. Strategy is how you want to implement.
Okay, I think that's also in the same area where most of us have been talking about, and I'm not differentiating anywhere. I'm just putting things in the right place. Strategy is planning a way. When it comes to advertising, when you're thinking, you need to plan a way. Your clients always come to you with a problem statement. What you need to do is you need to plan a way for them to solve it, and then you need to ideate so that you don't move out of the way. You have to be within the within the strategy, and then ideate to execute it so that the solution is it comes to life. So that's how they are basically different. So strategy, in most of the cases, strategy happens first, ideation happens next. I think that's one thing you need to understand in advertising. The reason it happens because you always start with a problem. Now, whenever a problem comes to you, maybe in this industry or in your life, you first strategize how to solve it, and then you create ideas to solve it in a better way. I think that's basically where the difference is, and this is what all of you should look to understand. In particularly when it comes to advertising as an industry, and as people who are going to give solutions, you need to put it this way: strategy and ideation. Today we'll talk about something which is just the beginning of this process. Before ideation happens, before strategy happens, we're going to talk about the business of advertising today. Now, it's important that you know this, the business of advertising. And here, most of you, and even I had this when I was in your age, that I'm not going to, and as most of you said that you're not going to run your ad agency tomorrow, right? So I'll be joining as a fresher or in some junior role. So why do I need to know about the business of advertising? I think that's one question most of you will be asking. Am I right? So you are thinking, okay, why this session today? Why something on the business of advertising? What will I get by knowing it? And you'll get a lot by knowing it, I'm telling you. The reason is, I'll give you the reasons. Today we're talking about identifying clients and how you approach the planning. Before you get into this strategy, how you approach this strategy is important. And therefore, what are the financial models that exist in the advertising industry? This is important because end of the day, if the business of advertising is not working, then the industry is not working, right? I think that's something that has to be a very integral part of your DNA when you get into any advertising agency. Keep aside advertising. If you are getting into any profession tomorrow, anything, so be it writing, some of you want to make films, you go into filmmaking, you just can't make film without getting a business out of it, without making money out of it. I'm sure you are looking for a job to earn salary, not just to work, right? It's the same thing. When you're doing a business or you're part of a business, you will be given targets. Please understand, you'll be given financial targets. Both the think tank team as well as the creative team, they get financial targets. And that is how it happens. To reach that financial target, you need to understand the business of advertising, and it is very important that you do. Now, this is a very big figure, right? Numbers are what we're going to talk about today. There will be various kinds of numbers I'm going to share, and you need to get into this habit of accepting numbers, looking at numbers. You need to fall in love with numbers, if I would put it that way. It's important that you do it, because the moment you agree and accept numbers, it is much easier for you to do what you really love to do. Okay, so this is a number which is the size of the advertising industry in 2020. You see the huge number here. And look at the projection. It's about a 10.7% growth, which is projected in the year 2021. That's the kind of numbers that exist in advertising. That is the industry size, right? And you need to understand that this is where you'll get into. If you can get a pie of this, a good chunk pie of this for your agency, that's when your agency is going to survive. That's when you are going to survive. And to do that, you have to do tremendous good work. And that's important that you do good work. But then whatever you do, your business has to exist. If your business doesn't exist, then there's no point in doing a good work. There is no point in doing a good piece of art if it doesn't sell, right? There's something called personal satisfaction. I'll keep that for leisure. I'll keep that as a hobby. You pick up all the hobbies that you have listed in yesterday, that reading books, listening to music, that's for personal satisfaction. You're going to spend time in advertising and you want money out of it. Let's be very clear here. All of us who are looking to get a job is ideally going to earn money, and that's important in our life. Either you're doing a job or you're doing a business. So you need to know what's the size of the industry, what's the behaviors like. And I'll talk about two agencies today, two primary, ways in which ad agencies make money. There are two primary ways. One is commission. It's important. It's one of the most particularly for a full service agency or a media agency, commission from time immemorial has been the most common medium of earning money, right? So when you buy a media, as we were talking about media agencies or full service agencies yesterday, when they're buying media, what they're doing is, so I'll give you an example. So suppose we are talking to, suppose I'm in an advertising agency and I'm into the media buying department. I am going to talk to a newspaper house. Say, let's take Times of India for that matter. Since you have been doing mass communication, you'll know that every newspaper has an ad space and a editorial space, right? So as an advertising agency or a media agency, I buy the advertising space, the white spaces that exist in the newspaper. I buy that space at a certain rate, and then when I sell it to the to my advertiser, to my client, I get commission from the media houses. That look, if I've sold it for $100, I'll make $10 out of it. So that's the commission route. Now, the more I can sell, and to sell that, I need to have a good rate from the media houses, as well as I need to have a great idea. I need to have a great strategy to convince my client that, look, this is an ad you should do in this newspaper. So a good media plan, some great strategies around it, some super ideas. You get them all together, convince the client that this is good for him, it solves his problem, put it into the newspaper, make money out of it. So that's how your way, ad agencies make money, and that's one of the ways in which they make money by the commission route on media, and that's huge sum of money, I'll tell you. The other model that exists, and it exists across agencies, all big and small agencies, is an agency fee. Now there are 2 or 3 areas where agency fees are taken. Agency fees are taken on a consultancy model. So a client comes up to me with a problem statement. I talk to the client, I give time, I create my strategies around that, and I do a lot of consultancy with the client. So I organize research for him. So that's a consultancy model. So I do a lot of things for the client. I'm not getting into creative. Anything before creative is what I am doing. I'm suggesting, I am investing time. I get paid for the time that I've invested. I get paid for all the ideas, not the ideas, but primarily the strategies that I have made, all the direction mapping that I have done, all the analysis that I have done. So I get paid for that, and I call it the consultancy fee. So there's a consultancy fee that is paid to the agency. Then there's a creative fee for creating the idea, for ideating, for then putting art and copy into place, and then you create that piece of work, be it a print ad, be it a television ad, be it a digital ad, whatever it is, you create that. So once you create that, there's a creative fee that you take, and then there's a supervision fee. Now what's the supervision fee? Anything. So suppose you have decided that a film banana hai, we want to make a film, and the client says, okay, fine, you have got the storyline right. Now you take it to a production house. Now what you do is, you, on behalf of the client, you are talking to the production house, you're telling them what kind of film you're looking at. The production house then creates a screenplay out of it. You might have done a storyboard, or if you have not done, the production house does a storyboard. Then they get into the production discussion, pre-production, then shoot planning, then shoot and everything. But they're doing this everything with you, because you are the team which has created that film idea. And what you're doing it on behalf of the client. So you're supervising the fact that this film has to be executed, right? Now, therefore, you're going to get an execution, a supervision fee. So wherever you have to do a supervision, be it making a film, be it doing a photo shoot, be it commissioning a research and getting a research done, anything where you are not doing it directly, but you're taking all those extended services that we listed yesterday, all those extended services, you are getting them done, you're taking a supervision fee. So these are your 3 typical agency fees that you can earn. So every service that you give is chargeable, and your client will pay you for whatever you do. Now, this can happen again in 2 ways. One is project based. So yeah, I get a client who says that, look, I have I have this problem and I want to take it up as a project. I want to do it for 2 months or 3 months. I can spend for 2 or 3 months. So you say, okay, fine. So you propose a kind of a commercial and say, look, this is what I have to do. You identify a scope of work. and you say, देखिए इसको करने के लिए I have to do these things, and therefore I prepare a 2-month project and I give it to the client for a fee, and the client says, okay, fine, it works, or whatever negotiation happens, there happens, and you fix up on that fee, and that's how it happens. That's a project-based work. And there, once a project gets over, your relationship with the client in terms of that particular project is also over. Now, why this is important for us to understand is because at one given point in time, most clients would not want his or her agency to work on a competitive brand. Say, for an example, if I am the agency for Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola will not want me to work for Pepsi, because they're competing products, right? Automatically, if it's a project-based association, then I can work on a Coca-Cola project for 2 months, but then I can do a Pepsi project for the next 2 months also, because it is project-based. Now, this is something that very small players follow, particularly players like say real estate is a good example, who do a lot of project-based work, because they feel that whenever I am coming up with a new property, I need communication then, I need advertising then. So I'll pick it up as a project, or a 2-month or a 3-month project. I'll get the campaign done, and then I'll keep on using the media only in terms of pushing and promoting. So they pick up agencies on a project base, and they keep on changing agencies also, because they might want to get good ideas every time. And they might want to pick up an agency which is giving a great idea to them. So they want to do project based. Most other and bigger clients, and I would say bigger clients, or better I say bigger brands, who have a certain vision, who knows that I want to have an agency which is going to be my partner in everything that I strategize, in everything that I think. Now these are brands who would share their 5-year plan with you. They're going to come up and tell you, look, I'm going to launch this in 2022, in 2023. I am starting my R&D process right now. I want you to be a part of that from day one. Okay, and that remains as a secret with me, and I get a long-term association with them, and then I get into something that is called a monthly retainership model. That every month, like a salary, the agency gets a fee from that particular client, and then the agency creates a team which works on that client, almost 24/7. So monthly retainership is one of the most common methods of getting an agency on board, particularly for strategic work, for creative work. All big brands do monthly retainership. I'll give you an example of a brand called Hawkins, which had a relationship with R.K. Swamy BBDO for 20 years. That's a pretty long time. Then there were brands like Raymond's, which again was with RKS for about, I believe, about 15 to 20 years, that too. But the biggest example I can tell you is about a brand called Pepsi. Okay. Now, Pepsi internationally tries to do business with one agency, one global network, which is the BBDO network. So way back, I think in 2001 or something, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 2000. No, I think 2005 or 6, if I remember correctly. BBDO was not present in India, right? Pepsi in India was working with an agency called JWT. Okay, but from Pepsi, they gave a mandate to BBDO that, look, I want to work with BBDO in India, so you better set up an India, a BBDO India for that purpose. And they were ready to pay BBDO for that. I think in 2005 or 6, BBDO India was set up. Before that, BBDO was working with R.K. Swamy. And BBDO India was set up. BBDO is one of the biggest agencies in the world, and it's probably the #1 creative agency as of now. They set up a Delhi office. with a certain person. I don't know whether you have heard his name, Mr. Josie Paul, heading that. Josie took up the responsibility of BBDO India, and I was working with RK Swami at that point in time, which was a BBDO partner agency. We had all, as a team, a national team of about 7-8 of us, of creative people, had come together. We all went, and we went to Delhi. We went to decide and discuss on a pitch for the new 7-Up campaign that was going to be done out of BBDO India. So creative people from different zones were picked up. I represented East with one of my colleagues. From South, there were about 3 of them. From Bombay, there were about 2 or 3 of them. And from Delhi, a couple of them. So it was a team of about 10 of us who spent, I think, 2 or 3 days brainstorming on how BBDO India can pitch for 7-Up and take this entire business out of JWT. And we did that entire exercise. BBDO came on board with 7-Up, and slowly Pepsi also came to BBDO. And now they're in a, the BBDO India is working on the entire Pepsi brand. And of course, they're working on many other brands. But then, you know, another case where, as you understand, the importance of client agency relationship. You know, one of the reasons why Pepsi did this was because they said that, look, I'm sharing my future plans with BBDO across the world. Why can't I do that in India? And India was an emerging market at that point in time. Today, it is one of the biggest markets in the world. Automatically, they push the agency to take up that responsibility of, you know, creating their own branch here and then taking the work forward. It's important that we understand how this works, the role that agencies therefore play in the life of a client, in the life of a brand, and the kind of impact they can have, right? So monthly retainership is one model that allows this entire relationship to get, you know, strengthened. It's very important that clients are very happy being a part of, you know, this model of retainership, where they get a lot of value. So, you know, the kind of values we give for a retainership business is, see, suppose a competitive brand has come out with an ad, and we get to, as agency people, we might have a, you know, first-hand experience of looking at it. We immediately share it with the client and say, look, this is what they're doing, and maybe, you know, you can do something like this. So we come up with proactive solutions. So there might not be a situation where we have to wait for a brief. We go back to the client and say, look, this is what you can do. This is what your competition is doing. Before even the brand manager thinks that it's important, we go back to the client and do this. And that's something that we can do when we are in the retainership model. Okay, so we are their extended partners in that sense. Then, of course, in the same model comes something called a rate card. But the reason why I've put this rate card here is very simple. There are a lot of work that will not happen in a, you know, every month. So for an example, adaptation of creatives into various medium. So in the retainership model, you might actually not be creating too many ads. You might actually be doing a consultancy more than creative. Or in, you know, in certain cases where you have taken some digital mandate and you have to create, say, social media posts at least 2 or 3 a week. So there will be a lot of creatives happening there. Now there is something that will be an understanding between the client and the agency that there are X amount of things that has to be done in a month, and then there is an opportunity to do more things. Say, for an example, we have done a very wonderful creative work for you know, for a client, and we had created that primarily for a social media static post, right? The client just loved it and said, you know, why don't we also do it in the outdoors? So we said, very good, let's take it out. So what we do, the client is already paying me for doing the social media post, but the client is not paying me for the outdoor, because that was not the understanding. Outdoor, to, you know, 2 or 3 months mein ek hi baar hota hai. Why will they pay for an outdoor adaptation every month? So there we put in a rate card and say, look, for adapting this into outdoor, this is the rate that you have to pay. So there is a rate card which would include your adaptation rates, which would include your special designing rates, you know, like designing a book, designing a kind of manuals, then designing your annual reports, your flyers and everything, which are not something that you do every month. So again, that's a rate card that is fixed with the client beforehand on listing what they might need, and therefore the rates they have to pay. So to the client is very transparent that look, if I take these additional services, I have to pay these additional fees. So very simple. Along with my monthly retainership fee, which includes ABCD things, if I have to add other things to it, I buy as per the rate card. So that's another thing that the agencies follow. And therefore, these are the ways in which an agency makes money. And by making this money, you see the amount of money this industry generates. I shared with you in the beginning, and that's where it is. And it's growing at about 10% per year. And that's a tremendous amount of growth that's happening in advertising. Now the question is, industry to itna paisa bana raha hai, agency kitna banata hai? You know, that's something that's very something that a lot of you might be thinking. How much money can an agency make? So I'll share with you two agencies. This is an agency called Group M, which is a 500 crore plus agency. Just read about them. You have ample time. Just figure out use your search engines and read what are the services Group M gives. It's one of the biggest media houses in this country. So I think day before yesterday, I was talking to someone in Group M who heads the sports sponsorship part, and that was that was the day when the IPL teams, the next two teams was announced, and they said, look, we are now going to get very busy because we've got two more teams and we have to raise sponsorship for two more teams. You know, look at their association, right? They're bringing sponsors for IPL teams, and if you really look at the numbers that IPL generates, and even if they're earning about 10% commission out of it, you'll understand the kind of monies they're making. Okay, so that's Group M, which is doing tremendous work in terms of media. They're doing media innovation. They're doing amazing strategies in terms of media. Super team to reach out to and work with. All of you who want to get into media, think about getting into a Group M. Think about getting into a Madison. Madison is the one that was started by Sam Balsara. So just read a little bit about all these companies, and you really love to see what they're doing. Okay. And then, of course, this is a very known name, Ogilvy, one of the bigger agencies in India, and probably the biggest agency. They're doing about 300 to 400 crore, and they're doing it primarily on creative services. Okay, their fees are mostly retainership model fees. Ogilvy doesn't have too much of a media inroad, so they do not have a very elaborate media department. Now, this is very interesting that when advertising started off, it started off as split services. So there were people who were creating, and they were considered to be the people to invest in. So automatically clients used to come with briefs on creating an ad, but slowly the role of media planning and strategy started growing, and automatically media became a very important department in advertising, which was making a lot of money. And automatically media and creative started working together along with the strategy team, and the full service agency format was very alive. I think this is something in the 80s, in the 90s, even in the 70s, you'll see a lot of full service agencies. Post 90s, I think, post 90s, the media agencies started coming as individual bodies. And they said that, look, I want to focus only on media buying, media selling, media planning, and I'm going to take up clients on that. The creative agencies and the strategy agencies can work together as a team. So the client now has a creative agency on board, agency on record, and then they also have a media agency on board. So media agency can, like I work with one of my clients is Ultratech Cement. Ultratech Cement has a national media agency, which is Group M, and then they have regional creative agencies. So if I'm not wrong, Low or Lintas, I think, is doing their Bombay work. My team here is doing the entire East for them. They have an agency in Delhi. They have an agency in South India. They also are having an agency in West other than Bombay. So that's the format that they're working in. A lot of clients work in this format. They have regional agencies and regional advertising agencies who can give you creative solutions for the regional market, right? So that's one way where a lot of work happens. So Ogilvy and Group M are two big names here. So I'll get into how to get a client. Okay, this is important. You know how to get a client. Can anyone, now I'll just open it up for people to tell me how you think are the ways in which you can get a client. Okay, I would like to listen from some of you on how you can get a client. What do you think? What are the ways in which you can get a client on board?
So to
Yeah, tell me, who's this?
Yes, sir. Sir, this is Sarika.
Okay.
Yes, sir. सर हम क्लाइंट के लिए जैसे अगर हमें कोई इन्फ्लुएंसर चाहिए एज अ क्लाइंट तो हम उसे डायरेक्ट कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं थ्रू ईमेल्स एंड सर अगर हमें उनका कांटेक्ट नंबर प्रोवाइड हो सकता है तो लाइक थ्रू कॉल्स हम उन्हें कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं सर.
Okay, how do you get them on board? So now, yeah, this is how you reach a client. That's fine.
Yes, sir.
But client ko, how do you get them on board? How do they either give you a project or give you a monthly retainership? Target यही है अपना कि उनसे पैसा निकालना है, right? So how do you get them on board?
basically we interact with them and give them our portfolio, give them the best deals according to their convenience, and
Okay.
Obviously we should treat them as our family members also, very, very homey,
Okay.
so that they should feel homey.
Okay.
And that's why they will get attracted to us in order to do that. And I think, yeah, client is like God.
Client is like God. Okay. Then we say the client is always right. We don't say them as God, but they're always right. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? You're giving them that comfort is very important, as you said, treating them like a family member and giving them that comfort to work with us. And that's a very important point. Yeah. Anyone else? Trying, कोई भी try कर रहा है how to get a client? Okay, let me try and put you into this. First, I think someone pointed this out, that you should know where they exist and you should know how they behave. Right? It's very important to know where they exist. कहाँ पे है ये client? Right? Where in the industry they are? What are they doing? How do they behave? So a lot of effort goes into finding out the way a particular brand is existing in this industry. क्या कर रहे हैं वो लोग? Right? And it's not a new brand. So forget about the new brand. I think there's a different animal. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about the brands that are existing. And you say, look, say let us pick up a brand, say for an example, any FMCG brand would be a nice example. We'll all be quite acquainted to them. Let's pick up a brand like a Dove, for an example. Right? Dove lete hain. Dove we all know it exists, right? Now you have to understand कहाँ पे ये exist करता है, कौन सा market पे ये exist करता है, किसके लिए ये brand है, the type of communication they are doing, what is what is the character that this brand has, what is the DNA that this brand has, what is the the tonality they have, what is the personality they have. You need to understand all of these things, because the moment you're going to talk to your client, right, you get a phone number, you fix up a meeting. I think that's step one, of course. Now once you get that meeting, you need to go and talk to them about their product, and please try and understand, here is a brand which is created the product, which knows the product in and out. You are an outsider. You are going to talk to this client about something that he knows more than knows more and better than you. So automatically you understand the need to know where they exist and how they behave is number one in the list. Because I go to a client who's, who wants to be friendly in terms of its tonality with its consumer. And I go to this client and tell the client that, look, your brand needs to be very serious. Your brand needs to be a philosopher. That doesn't work with the client. They'll not come to you. You will not get that client. That's period. You need to understand that how that client behaves, how that brand behaves in the market, right? So, since we're talking about media, we're talking about, so trend analysis is something that you all should start doing, start following. I think it's something that you can't do. You more have to follow. You have to read a few trend reports which are available in the market, hunt for it, look for it. There are various agencies who come up with these reports. There are various newspaper articles which talk about trend reports. If one thing you can all start doing is reading the brand equity. If you're not doing that, please start doing that. Just flip through the Economic Times every day. Just see if you can get something interesting. You don't need to read every article. If you find something interesting, read that. Whatever interests you, try to see how the market is behaving, how brands are behaving, what kind of ads they're doing. So that you understand what is the trend. Understanding trend is very, very important. What I'm going to show you is the trend of media usage, right? There might be various other trends. The trend of using characters. It might be one trend. The trend of using social media can be trends. There might be many trends. You need to understand these trends. So today I'm going to talk about media usage trend. Let's see what kind of media usage trend was there in 2020. Okay. So here is a pie chart. Now, wherever you are in advertising, whichever department you are, there are two softwares you must master yourself in. Okay. One is Microsoft Excel. You should know how to create data sheets. It is beneficial throughout the departments of an agency. Whether you are in creative, whether you are in strategy, it is required. And the other is a PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. These are your two, what I would say, astras, if I would put it that way, through which you can solve most of your problems. It's the two common tools that you need. Okay, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. And very important. This is something that all of you need to do. Look, I used Excel yesterday evening when I got your data. I mined that data. I found stuffs out of it, and I am using a PowerPoint to share with you what I have found. So that's exactly what you all have to do. Okay. Now this is media usage trend 2020. Again, graphs and something that you have to be very conversant with, and you have to keep on using. 41% of media, the money in the media comes from usage of television. TV में सबसे ज़्यादा spend होता है media. Most of the ads are in TV. So you see the amount of, therefore you'll see the importance of content in television. I think that's one area which is not directly related to advertising, but then as individuals in this profession, you should be knowing about the role of content. I'll give you a very, very strong content-based television program where advertisers and advertising is doing very noticeable job. So if you have seen it, it comes, I think it comes in Sony, hosted by Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, the Kaun Banega Crorepati. You're right, you've all seen that, the KBC. Now, KBC is one of the most successful television non-fiction programs ever that has happened. It is the highest earner after IPL. Okay, Now you watch next, very now with this little bit of insights or inputs that I'm going to give you, watch the next episode of KBC, which is going to come today. See how brands have integrated themselves in KBC. See how logos appear. So if you really look at, I don't know whether they're doing it this season, the computer in front of Amitabh Bachchan has a logo right at the corner, which is visible always in the screen. Right? If you look at, the brand, like one of my clients, Ultratech, is doing tremendous job with KBC, where they're saying Chancellor. Chancellor is an Ultratech line that they want to talk about, and Amitabh Bachchan keeps on repeating it throughout KBC. Look at the way brands have integrated. These are all done by the creative agency and media agency coming together. Go through KBC, you'll understand the role of advertisers in using media in an interesting way. Automatically what happens is, you watch an IPL match or a cricket match, you see the different ways in which advertising is used, how the brands are visible. You have these slides, side slugs and all of these things happening, your bands, your Aston bands and all of this coming together. You should be already knowing about them. So the way the screen is designed, right? The way a cricket field has been designed in the past few decades. You look at those ads that you see in television where there's a branding on the field, and just read about those, how they are created. You'll see that when they're drawing it on the ground, but in a particular angle of the camera, you can actually see them straight. Think about it. When you're looking at the match, you're looking at the match where it's being played on a cricket field, on the pitch, but you see your ads are almost vertical. How do they do that? It's not digitally done. They're drawn in that way. They're painted in the ground in that way, with that, understanding that angle and everything, so that when you look it in a screen, it looks as a straight ad, as a logo. So these are things that, they're not a piece of creative layout, but they're a piece of creative thinking. And that's precisely what agencies are supposed to do. Be it media, be it non-media agency, be it a creative agency, you're supposed to do all of these things. Okay, and there can be various kind of therefore solutions. Television is a place where a lot of innovation can happen. I shared with you in the webinar the Cadbury ads. The Cadbury now has gone up. This year, I shared with you last year's Diwali campaign. This year, you look at their Diwali campaign. They're using an artificial intelligence, and they're asking you to create your own campaign. Just check Cadbury Diwali's campaign this year. Fascinating work. Look where advertising has gone into, how they've integrated television and they've integrated digital. You can create your own ads this time. If you are one of the people who are listed, you can create your ad, and Shah Rukh Khan will be talking, will be taking the name of your, say, if it's a Kirana store which is listed, name of your Kirana store in that ad. You can hear it with Shah Rukh's voice. That's a brilliant piece of work. Okay, just go through that and see, there are very many examples on using television. Of course, it takes the largest chunk of revenues. 28% is in social media. This is the new media. This is where a lot of things happen. The social media. You see, there is, you'll understand digital marketing is now one of the biggest things that's happening for, for people who want to get into marketing. The way they strategize, the way they integrate the communication, the way they use every individual social media platform. It's not that I have to use the same post in Instagram that I use in Facebook, or I have to, the video I post in YouTube has to be the same video that I do in Facebook. No. So there are models, there are ways in which it is done, where exactly you post it and everything. Social media is the next big thing that's happening, particularly as we understand that there are social media reports, again, something that you can have an access to, which talks about the penetration of mobile phones, the penetration of internet in our country, the amount of time people are spending in internet, in telephone, the amount of hours they're spending in individual social media platforms. You get so much data. There are reports that have come out, and you'll see that at an average, an Indian spends, irrespective of whether they're in rural or urban, they spend about 7 hours using their mobile phones, using social media in their mobile phones, in the digital platform. That's too much of a time that they're spending. So automatically, social media has become one of the most important segments when it comes to media usage. Of course, number three is something that all of you have, we have been seeing it from our childhood. It's the news industry, or the media industry, the print media in that sense. Now, this is an area of a little concern for all of us, because with every year, this 25% is coming down. Okay, and this is one medium that is struggling. This is one medium where revenues are falling. The moment you see revenues are falling in this medium, if you have learned about the economics of building up a newspaper, you'll understand that the content space today, the space available for content, has a direct relationship to the amount of ad space that is sold. So ideally, you'll see when it comes to festival times, festival se pehle newspaper ka number of pages बढ़ जाता है, right? You've all seen that number of pages of a newspaper grow before a festival comes in, primarily because more ads are coming in. And just after the festival, one day or 2 days after the festival, again they get back to those 16 pages, 18 pages, and everything. If you look at a Lucknow Times, for that matter, kitna thick ho jata hai festival se pehle, right? Then uske baad again it goes back to the 4-pager or the 6-pager that they do. There's a reason. There's a huge relationship between the amount of money they receive in terms of advertising, and therefore the content that has to be given. The saddest part is this one is going down. It's something that as advertisers we are really concerned, and we are concerned because it's a very important medium. Digital is taking its pie, not television. Let's be very clear on this. But again, print media has a role to play. I'm sorry to say that today we only have newspapers in print media. The magazines have also stopped almost. If you remember, when we were in our schools and colleges, when you were also in your schools and colleges, magazines were an important tool for print media. Now there are hardly any magazine. Magazines have all gone online, and therefore a lot of advertising therefore is shifting from print to digital. So 25% still is with print, and I hope this one grows, because print is an amazing medium to convince people. It's an amazing medium where you can tell a lot of things, and a lot of things have to be done. So here I can tell you again something from my experience. I have worked with 2 media houses. But one, when I was your age, I just passed out of my college. I joined Times of India in Lucknow. I passed out of Lucknow, so I joined Times of India in Lucknow. I was there for a year, and then of course I understood the way. I was very fresher at that point in time, as you would understand, as most of you are. And I learned a lot of things while I was in that job. I was not in the editorial. I was creating ads for them. I was designing a supplement for them, for Kanpur as well as Lucknow, for a particular department. And then I shifted to advertising. I came to Calcutta. I got a break in one of the bigger agencies in Calcutta. I was there for about 7-8 years before I shifted to another big media house in the East, which is the ABP Group, the one that comes out with the Telegraph and the ABP News and everything. It's a nice conglomerate. Now, why I am telling you about this is very simple. In ABP, I had a very important challenge, and that my challenge was to convert brands who were spending a lot in television into, converting them into spending in print. That was one of the jobs that I had there. I set up a team, I set up a department for them to do this. And we created an amazing ecosystem where we said that how can print do better than television? I can talk about this at length. It's not a part of today's discussion, but I'll just give you inputs. So there are limitations when you are doing an audiovisual medium to when you're doing print, right? And we highlighted those. We talked about the importance of print, and we were able to convert, clients like PepsiCo, Frito-Lay's in that sense. So I got Kurkure coming into this space, who spends a lot in television to do something in print. I had Cadbury's, and that was a huge achievement for us. I had Cadbury's who used to do a lot in television to come and do stuffs in print. Two tremendous strong cases that we had there when I was there for about 4 or 5 years. For particularly for Cadbury's, we got national recognition for doing whatever we did. That's a separate story. I'll need a lot of time to share about, share that bit. But yes, this is something that is happening. Okay, I also got Coca-Cola coming in. Coca-Cola does every year, they do an annual program on print in this part during the festivals, which they were otherwise doing in television. So television to print migration is possible. And all of you in this room keep a belief in this, that all the three medium has different roles to play. Please understand this very carefully. They have different roles to play when it comes to a target audience, to a consumer. A consumer behaves differently with different medium, and automatically there can be different communication done in the three medium when they can coexist, and they all have important roles to play. Of course, other than these, there are outdoors and there are other mediums which take up about 6% of the media usage of brands and clients. Now, 64% of who uses this medium, the FMCG uses 64%, right? All your shampoos and soaps and all your, FMCGs, they use 64% television. They're the ones who are mostly there. So if you're targeting a client from the FMCG, you want a shampoo brand to be one of your clients, you know that you have to build more television commercials for them, right? That's something you keep in mind, and you know that that's how they behave. Once you're going and talking to them, you're talking mostly about television commercials. Keep at the back of your mind that they are discussing TVCs more with you. Okay. 57%. This is a nice split that I got about who uses digital. The BFSI uses BFSI. Who can tell me what's the full form of BFSI? Anyone here? The full form of BFSI? Okay, that's banking, financial services, and insurance. They do the most in social media. So all the time you get your messages, your Facebook में आ जाता है छोटा ad. वो बैंक का ही होता है most of the times. Financial services का होता है, insurance का होता है. Okay. Then of course comes consumer durables, who are doing huge work in the digital space. Telecom follows all your Airtels and your telecom services like Airtels, Vodafone, they are doing here, and 39% of e-commerce, they're doing big spending here. So whenever you're talking to these people, you can understand that they're thinking more digital, right? They're going to come and tell you, हम digital में क्या कर सकते हैं, और नया क्या कर सकते हैं, or how can I get more numbers in digital, right? These are the guys who are mostly talking digital. So if you're working with a digital agency, or if you're working you have a digital agency or you have your own digital agency, you have to go to these clients. They are the ones who are spending more here, right? And of course, the others who are spending in the others, which would include your retail, your automotive, your media, your entertainment, they are the ones who are mostly in the print media, right? Because they have a lot of story to tell. You look at the automobile ads, they put up your comparative charts and stuff like that. Your automotive का ad होता है, retail का ad होता है, detail में बहुत कुछ बोलना है. Okay, media, entertainment, and all. They're mostly they spend a lot in print. So now you know that. Look, I know that this is the kind of media splits that's there, and then I also know that which are the type of industries who are spending in which media. Now you have a little hang of your background of your client. Now you can think, nay, I can actually go and approach a client. Okay. Now, this is a digital media spending trend. Okay, digital media में spending trend कैसे होता है? Since digital is one of the key medium, I just wanted to put this up here as an example on how deeper you can go with your understanding of a client, right? However, still I'm saying this is one part of understanding. There are many other things that you need to look at. You look at their ads, you look at the schedule of ads that they do, when do they do these ads, what are the kinds of markets that they're doing it in. 29% of digital media spending is happening in social media. So all your Facebook, your WhatsApp, your Twitter, your Instagram, and all of these places, all the social media, they take up 29% of their spending there, right? 28% and very close is online video. Believe me, all of you who had listed yesterday that I want to make videos, I want to get into video production. You have a tremendous opportunity since online video is picking up a lot. However, let me be very clear on this point that this is a trend which is a current trend, and it has been seen in digital media that trends change very soon. Okay, and you have to keep keep a tab of what the recent trends are. Right now, online video is the trend. Everyone is having a channel, everyone is putting up their videos, they're creating at home. And one of the reasons for that to happen in the last 2 years is because people have been sitting at home. They have nowhere to go. Ghar pe baith ke making a video is the thing that they, look at the type of channels that have come up. Your do-it-yourself channels, they've come up a lot. Your one of the biggest numbers of channels that have come up, and I was reading it in some article, is cookery shows at home. Everyone has become a cook today, and they are creating some menu or the recipe or the other, and they're putting up in their channel, and they're constantly doing it, right? So doing a video channel. So I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she also has a channel. She with her friends have decided we want to have a channel. I said, go ahead, have it. It's a fad currently. Go ahead, have it. And they're making all these time pass videos. At least they do something fruitful sitting at home. Otherwise, their schools are off. They have nothing to do. And they're making a video. I just taught. I'm trying to teach her how to edit a video in the very easiest manner. But then that's the current trend. Online videos, look, they were 22% in 2019, and now they are 28%. So that's the rise, and they're going to rise next 2 years. Online videos are going to stay at least, and if they're doing much better than that, of course they're going to stay longer, right? So that's online videos for you. And the third, of course, is the paid search, where you pay. And the big daddy of paid search is Google. Please understand, 90% of Google's revenue comes right from this paid searches, from advertisements. They made 90% of the global revenue of Google comes from advertisement. Okay, paid search, of course, your SEOs and all of these things fall in this 24%. So all of them are quite close to each other. But that's the trend currently. I don't know what happens 5 years from now, because digital is a medium that is evolving. I believe it is still in a very young stage, and I would expect more things to happen as technology grows. More opportunities are going to open. So if you have friends who are in IT, who are tech guys, try and talk to them on innovation in technology. Try and see how technology is working, and try to see what role you can play over there. Now that brings me again to something that I talk about myself, and I keep on putting in whatever little bit I know about this industry from my experience. So after I was working with the ABP group, I got a very interesting offer. I got an offer from, again, the ABP group itself. They were doing a startup. They were doing a digital startup, a social media platform they're trying to build, right? And they asked me that whether I want to be a part of that. And in the beginning, I thought, look, I am from traditional advertising. I have grown up, I have started my career as a visualizer, and then I've grown up to become a strategist and whatever, and a creative strategist, whatever I call that. Now I have no knowledge of technology. I have never taken computers in my entire career as a subject. I don't know anything about it. I only know that a mouse moves and I have to look at the screen. I know a few softwares. That's quite it. Now becoming a part of a digital startup is a big challenge. I told them very frankly that look, I have no experience in digital. I hardly use Facebook, but yes, I have a little interest. So they said, look, you would fit well. As somewhere they found that I might do a decent job there, and I said, okay, fine, let's give it a shot. And I moved into that particular that startup, and I was there for about 5 years with them. I was heading their entire marketing and branding, as well as I was a very integral part of the entire product planning. And why I am saying this is because a new thing that was added to my experience was being a part of product planning meetings and discussions, right? I was there sitting with various tech developers, and here I learned what is a front end, what is front end development, what is back end development, what is an architecture, and what is a project planning and all these things. It's important that if you have friends in this in the technology line, you learn these things. It's very important that you do it. Today I can tell you that the way a Facebook behaves in terms of pushing their ads to people is only because I understand how a backend architecture works in a social media platform. Okay, so if I have to pay to Facebook to get a certain ad, certain number of reach, I perhaps would know the mechanism or the engineering that's at the back end. I will still not know the code. I'll still not know the technology, the languages that they use. But what I know is the concept that goes, what thoughts have gone into building up that engine. That is something where you have to get into. You need not know the in and out of technology, but you have to get into understanding how tech people think in terms of building up products. And that's important if you really have to get into this space of digital media, right? And that's, I'm sure, in the coming 2-3 years, most of you who are getting into advertising, you are going to come across digital media in a very big way. Okay, and they will become a very important part of your entire work base that you'll have there, be it creative, be it thinking, be it anywhere that you want to work. Now I'll share with you a little more data. This is the 2019 data, a year before. The amount of spending that was done according to industries, which industries spent how much money. We talked about where did they spend. Like, can we understand how much, not in terms of figures, but at least in terms of percentage? Who spends more? These are the ones who spend more, right? You see 30% is FMCG. Man, get an FMCG brand in your agency and you are good. Okay, that's how it looks like, right? Your FMCG has 30%. E-commerce, look at the amount of money e-commerce is spending in advertising nowadays. This is overall across media. Okay, auto here would be your cars and all of these things. They're spending about 8% in advertising. Whenever you're approaching these clients, now the reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is to tell you that these are the things you need to look forward to when you are trying to hunt for a client, right? Consumer durables is something that's spending pretty large, and then your telecom, your retail, your media and entertainment. I think that is one space. Your entertainment is one space where I predict a lot of more spends in advertising will happen, because primarily current what is happening with entertainment nowadays is a lot of barter is happening. So your finances are not, your monies are not being seen, right? So there is a barter happening between a channel and say a film, a production house, where they say, look, I put your logo in the film, and you put my trailer in your channel, so that's the kind of barter that's happening. So there's no money exchanging. I feel the money exchanges will start happening in this line, because entertainment industry has grown a lot in the last few years. The amount of 100 crore films that are coming out, the rise of OTT, and all of these things means that they will have a lot of money power, and differentiation will happen when they spend in advertising. That's one area where a lot of work. I have a prediction that in the next, at least they'll grow. They'll become about 6%, 7% market share, almost as close to an auto, if not, in the next 5 years. And then of course your BFSI. BFSI are all target related stuffs. They only add to sell. There's nothing else that they add for. There are very few who would add to create a brand unless they're going for an IPO. But then yes, BFSI spends a lot, and they again, BFSI, you need to again understand, BFSI has a time of the year when they spend. They spend largest in the last quarter. The reason they do is people have a lot of money and they would like to invest, so they are spending heavily. So once after Diwali, you will see a lot of your banking and financial services, insurance ads coming up. That's the last quarter. Tabhi they want people to spend. Okay, so if you want to crack a BFSI client, you need to approach that client in the month of August, September, give it 2 or 3 months to work out, and then you are on board. If you get that client on board, your work starts from the month of November, December. So that's how you need to plan your clients, right? When I say you need to plan it, you need to plan it this way to understand. That's why they need an importance of understanding their behavior. And of course, there's others who are also in this fight. So that's kind of a little look at how they behave and what they do. That was your first step, and the first step was of course the most important step. The step 2 is you need to follow them everywhere. There is no harm in stalking a client. There is no harm in shadowing a client. There is no harm in creating network with a client. Please go ahead and do it. Stalk clients, stalk brands, and the brands, they want them to stalk you. They're creating separate pages so that you are following them, you're liking them, and doing everything that is required. They want you to do that. So do that. When in our times, when we were, in our first years or second year into profession, there was no social media, there was no internet in that sense. What we used to all have, all agencies used to have, they used to have a kind of a book, a big book, something bigger than the A3 size, a thick book, and they were like chart papers all put together, right? Sab ek saath karke ek about 100 pages ka book hota tha. Primarily black chart paper se banta tha. Sara book black chart paper ka hota tha, and they used to create about 7-8 of those books, and each book would be tagged with a particular industry. और हम लोग का काम होता था कि every day we had to go through the newspaper and cut the ads which used to come and paste them on that kind of a scrapbook, if I would call it, on that scrapbook with the date, कब आया ये ad, किस client का है, the size of the ad. These are 3 things we had to write, and we had to maintain that scrapbook, right? And it was mostly the job of people who had just come into the industry, and it is a very important habit that we used to get into. And we had to therefore constantly hunt for ads, cut it and paste it, look at the ads carefully, and then there used to be sessions where we used to pick up an ad and talk about it. That's secondary. But that's what we used to do at that point in time. Even today you can do that, and I would want all of you to do it. Have your own scrapbook. If you want that to be a physical scrapbook where you want to put ads from your newspapers, please feel happy to do that. If physical, you want to also have a digital scrapbook, just pick up your ads from whatever comes in, be it your audiovisual ads, be it your print ads or static ads in this case. Download all these ads and put them in folders. For your audiovisuals, you need to just keep a list of the link of those ads. You don't need to download your videos every time. Start maintaining your scrapbook. That's something you can always start doing. when you're in college. If you're doing it, it helps you to learn, it helps you to know, right? Start keeping your advertising scrapbook accessible, so that everywhere where you're going, if you just want to talk to someone, abhi kya hoga, I think yesterday one of you said ke when I go to a marriage, I hang out and I have, I just stand there and see my relatives talking, right? I'll give you a very interesting scenario. So you've gone to a marriage now, and you are maintaining a scrapbook. Please try and understand. From that scenario, I'm saying you have gone to a marriage. You find that there is a relative of yours, say, who's working with an FMCG company, maybe with the levers for that matter, or the PNGs, whoever. Now you are now in a position to start a discussion with that person on, say, the kind of advertisement, say, a Livers is doing, a Unilever is doing, or a PNG is doing. You can talk. He would love to talk to you, because he'll not have too many people in that gathering who can talk in this respect. And therefore you create your network. You start building relationship. He knows that, look, here is a chap who I trust because he's a relative of mine. There is already a sort of understanding, and he knows my stuff, right? So tomorrow, if you really need to approach him for some work, he'll be very happy to hear you. He'll be very happy to talk to you, and maybe tomorrow he can become one of your clients. So to do that exercise, you need to start building your own backyard, and in this case, which would first be your scrapbook, right? So build up a scrapbook where you keep the ads. Build up a scrapbook where you keep a link of all your videos, all your static ads, your social media ads and stuffs. And of course, if you find some very interesting articles happening, so just do that also over there. So build that scrapbook of yours. That's what you do. So that's what I meant when I say stock, shadow, and network. Do that very, very rigorously, okay, to get a client. Okay, step 3. Now, once you have your homework in place, is when you connect with a client. Now, how do you connect with the client? You don't have an access to database always, right? अपने पास होता नहीं है. I don't know who are the people who are the MDs of companies, brand managers. So one of the very interesting platform that you might look at in terms of hunting for this is a social media platform called LinkedIn. Okay, a lot of you are in LinkedIn, so why don't you look out for people who are in different companies in important positions, read their articles, start commenting on their articles, start getting into their consideration set, and maybe when you connect with them in LinkedIn, they'll accept your they'll accept your request. Most of the senior people, they would not accept your request in LinkedIn, and you don't need to feel bad about it, right? There is no harm that they're not connecting with you. You understand that they'll only connect with you when you'll have a certain footprint in LinkedIn. So create your footprint so that they connect with you, right? And then of course you need to talk to your friends, your relatives, and try to see if there are other connects. Okay, so who is connected with who is working from which client? So your friends might be working for a particular company. You ask them to connect you to their marketing head or whatever it is. They might help you. And once that connect is done, once you have an inroad, you should prepare yourself for a pitch, right? What is a pitch? A pitch is a kind of a presentation that you make to the client, saying that, look, this is what you can do tomorrow. It's not that who you are or who I am, it's what you can do tomorrow. There are two kinds of pitches that we make to clients. One is a proactive pitch. So I just got I am talking to some of you in this classroom. I find that you have a connect with a big brand. One of you has. So I ask you, why don't you open up a meeting with that particular brand or the brand manager? I would talk to the brand manager. I would tell the brand manager, look, we are an agency and we would like to make a proactive pitch to you. So he might say, okay, fine, come over and do it. So we go with them with the idea that they can do. There is no brief. I don't know what exactly their current need is, but I just go and do a proactive pitch. If they like me, they say, okay, fine, I think this is a damn good idea. Why don't you do it for us? Or they might say, look, I don't need it now, but I like your approach, and I'll give you a brief. So it gives you two returns, two results. One is you might get the job. One is you might come into the consideration set. Both would work tremendously well for you. Now, once you come to the consideration set, then you get invitation for pitches. Every company who would want to do a pitch, who says, look, I want an agency, I have to reach out to an agency. They would give you a brief, and with that brief, you have to go and pitch. So they would invite you for a pitch, right? So once you go and do that pitch, and then you talk about what your ideas are, how you want the client to, to work and do all of these stuffs. You do that, and that's how you can get into a client. So connect, and it helps in a pitch. If you're going for a pitch, if you're going to talk to a client, if you have already connected to that client in some other way, right? if there is a people connect, or there is a social connect, it helps a lot, right? The client will be very happy to talk to you, and will have a little faith and trust in you. I think that's important. What you build in the end is a lot of trust, right? And that's where relationships exist. And I talked about creating relationships between client and agencies. It all starts from at this stage of how to get a client. Okay, when you connect and pitch, that's where it all gets started. That's your first interaction with the client. And as you understand, your first impression is a very important impression. And number 4 is, if you are good, you are in. You really have to be good. Now, if I'd have done all the other 3 points, 1, 2, 3, I've done it well, but then I am going in for a presentation and I don't make a good pitch, then I don't get the client. It's very simple. If you are good, you are in. So I'll give you another example of a very, very interesting pitch I was part of. Though at the end of the pitch, I'll just tell you in the beginning that we didn't get the client, but it was a very interesting pitch that I made. I was then, a very junior creative guy, and there was a big pitch which was going to happen for Odisha tourism, right? I remember it was for Odisha tourism, and it was out of the Calcutta office was supposed to do. I was in R.K. Swami at that point in time. All the top bosses had come from Bombay. The media head was here. From the Swami brothers were here. The owners of the company were here for that pitch, a very important pitch. And there was no one from Calcutta to go. And I was a very junior guy then. And I was just pushed into this pitch. And I said, you have to go and do the pitch, for the creative pitch. And I said, look, for such a big presentation, how can I go and do a creative pitch when I have a creative director already sitting? He said, no, there are other work that I have to do. You are only available to travel, so you better travel and do this pitch. I remember I spent a good 2 days with all the top heads of the company on preparing this pitch. And I was the flow of the pitch was that it would start with a strategic presentation, then they would hand over to me to do the creative, and then I would subsequently hand it over to the person who's going to do the media presentation, as in what the media plan should be and everything. So we went for the presentation, and this strategy was presented by one of the most senior person in the team, and he was just halfway into his presentation when somebody from the tourism department picked up and said, look, this strategy doesn't work for us because of so and so reason. He gave some very important valid reasons, and the entire strategy presentation had fallen flat. And they said, let's go to the creative. And I was like in a soup. I was a young chap. I was very junior. What I'm facing is a failure of my strategy team, and everything now depends on me. If I kind of screw it up there, then we lose the client at all. Okay. And I had to tweak my presentation at that point in time. I couldn't change my PowerPoint slides, but I knew that if I had to do something so that the entire, negative impression that was there with our team had to change into positive, right? So I just stood up, and since I was from Calcutta, I was from East, I had the big fortune of traveling to Orissa for a long period of time. And this is where I say, people, please travel. There's a very good need to travel all across the country. So I have been in Orissa. I have been to a lot of places in Orissa, right? I just stood up and I said that, look, last month I was in Orissa and I went to these places and I met with these people. This is what I got to know from them. And the moment I started talking in this language, I had the entire tourism team starting to, back me up. And they said, where else did you go? What did they say? So I said, sir, yahan pe gaye, these are the people who said this. So he asked, did you go there and did you find out this? So if I had gone, I said yes. So it was more of a conversation than a presentation. And then I made my creative, with that conversation, I kind of shared my creative and they really loved the creative. And they said, this is wonderful, very good creative. And then of course, the entire thing changed. Now, it's important that you understand here that it's your presentation that matters. In this case, it mattered a lot. And there have been many other pitches that I've done all my life. But I remember this pitch because it was a huge challenge. A, because I was very young and this was, one of my earlier pitches that I had to make. I was just 2 years into the profession and I was just put into this place. And second, the kind of situation I had to change, right? You have to be very prompt. I think that's what is important, and you have to be really good. That's one thing all of you need to start practicing. And you have to practice it in your mind, in your class, with your friends, with your relatives, that you need to understand these situations and quickly, change them, understand. And therefore, the importance of understanding behavior and insight. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow more. But today, you have, where I the important good. Yeah, sorry, I dropped off. Is it visible to you now? Okay, here I am. Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, we lost this client because we couldn't negotiate the money. We couldn't fit their bill, right? But this is another important part where your team would, where your team would spend a lot of time in negotiating your legal procedures. That's primarily what the administrative team takes up with the servicing team. And once the deal is sealed, you get the client, you start working on the client. So these are the 5 steps, 5 very important steps on how to get a client. And the moment you get a client, they start spending with you and your business gets started. And that's how the business of advertising is running. And it's been running for ages like this. These are the steps that everyone follows. These are the steps they'll follow forever. And that's how they'll get clients, they'll do work, and they'll keep the business running and earning a lot of money, right? And that's how our agency structure works. Finally, before I open it up for question and answers today, I think we'll have about 15-20 minutes to answer your questions. I'm just going to share with you something nobody has shared with you in your life, which is the formula for success. What is the formula for success in advertising? It's a very simple formula, but very, very difficult to execute. We'll talk about the execution tomorrow. It's great planning, idea, and execution. 3 things. If you do it great, it is successful. You will be successful, right? How to do that great is something that we'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk about, it will be more fun tomorrow in terms of I'll be showing you more ads, something that you are more conversant with. I understand today was a very, very important session because we are talking about the business part of the thing. Once you are into this industry for about 10 years, 15 years, you will have a lot of role to play here. You have to understand that in your career, if you really put a hierarchy mapping in advertising, you start off with your skill set, you go into the strategy space from there, and then you slowly shift into the business side of things, right? You don't always. So think about somebody like a Piyush Pandey, right? He started off as a creative guy.
Today, he is responsible for the business of Ogilvy in Southeast Asia. So he is a creative guy at the end of the day. But if you have to grow in this industry, these are the ways you grow. You start with a skill set, you get into strategy space, more strategies, and then you slowly migrate into business. You have to think about how the business grows, because you'll have a lot of experience in the other things. In the reverse, if you have a background of business, your jump in the entire hierarchy would be much better. You approach a work thinking that, look, if I do this, that's going to give me business. You know how to prioritize, what to prioritize, what to do, what exactly your planning should be for your own self, and how you can really grow fast in your life and in your career. Yesterday you learned about not learned about, but I'll say we talked about where you fit. Today you know about how you grow. Two important things. Once you get into advertising, you now know where you fit, you now know how you grow, and tomorrow we'll talk about what you need to do to make your mark, right? How you can be visible, how work happens, right? Good. I'll just show a film. Let me see if I can. A film on great planning, great idea, and great execution. Let me share. Yeah, here it is. This is a very old film, pretty old, but it was one of the very iconic films that had ever happened. Okay, so that was great idea and great execution, and you see what happens because of that. I'll open it up for questions. I would want you guys to ask me more questions on today or anything about yesterday, anything that you feel like. I think this audio is not working, Harshita or Harshita, whoever it is. You pick up somebody's phone and talk to me. This particular audio isn't working well.
Sir, how to for the right trend is something like there are plenty of trends.
Come back again.
The same period of time. So how to go with the right trend, which helps you in in advertising, especially. So how to just focus on that right trend? That's the question.
How do you focus on the if I get the question correctly, is it how do you focus on the right trend? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
So as in what kind of trend you're talking about? The advertising trend?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I would just rephrase the question. How do you find the right trend? If I would want to put it that way, is it right? Okay. Now to do that, you need to follow what most of the brands are doing, how they're advertising. So here, your entire knowledge of your scrapbook comes into the picture. If you are seeing that there is the style that each of the the brands are using. You'll try to figure out a particular trend. There won't be any what I would say process in doing it, other than the fact that you have to keep on following. So for an example, I'll give you. Right now, the trend is a lot of technology is being integrated into advertising. You'll see a lot of brands are doing that. So that's precisely the trend that they're following. If you look at, I'll give you something that more glaring, right? How many of you seen ads of TMT bars? Just raise your hands. Ads of TMT bar. One of the most recognized trend is to use celebrities. Agree? You have seen most of the TMT bars are using celebrities, right? So that's a trend. So you need to find what most of the brands are doing, and therefore fix up a trend. And then you need to also follow what is being written about. So therefore I said, look into your brand equities, your Economic Times. There are some shows that come in your, I think, ET Now channel and stuff like that. Just go through them. Just be a part of those entire platforms. Exchange for Media and afax.com, two other portals that you should keep on following. There you'll get to listen to various people from the industry. They are going to talk about the trends, because it's something they follow very aggressively. They're going to talk about the trend, and they're going to tell you what exactly happens. Okay, that's how you can keep on following.
Okay, so thanks.
Okay, anyone else? I would like to answer a few more questions. Yes.
Am I
Who's
audible?
this?
Anjali.
Yes, you are. Yeah, Anjali, tell me.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to ask, like, due to the pandemic, what are the difficulties, or I can say the changes ad agencies faced in order to get a client?
Okay, in order to get a client.
Yes, sir.
Now, number one, as soon as the pandemic had come in, the first thing that brands stopped was advertising. Okay. Now they had to save money. They said, look, I don't want to get into marketing. I don't want to spend into marketing. I want to first ensure that my production is in place, that salaries are paid correctly to all my employees. That's where I want to keep my focus in. That's where they started. That's the first thing that the brand said. So we, of course, were for the first few months having a difficult time. All agencies went through this phase. But then we started going back to the clients and we said that, look, it's fine that you don't want to get into advertising, but then this is a good time when you can plan and do and prepare for new initiatives. Because, for the next 2-3 months, if the entire industry is not advertising, then you can plan for new initiatives. And therefore we had approached, not only we, but as people from the industry, a lot of work had been done in the new initiative space, particularly trying to map areas, where, because people were also changing their behavior, right? And also to map where brands can be put in and how they can put in. So if you remember, a few of the brands then started talking about all your COVID safety norms. They started doing social conscious ads. Those are few things that started. So that became a trend slowly. A lot of brands, they talked about social distancing, they talked about wearing a mask, and they talked about everything that was related to COVID. Then of course they started telling people what they should do. All of these things were done to keep the brand in the consideration set, just not to lose out. So that was the first thing that was done, that we as agencies we had to ensure that we don't lose the client. The client must be, thinking of, not spending in media. We also went up to the client and told them that, look, since if it's a financial issue that you are facing, we are ready to take make few adjustments there for the next few months, because this was a very special scenario. The COVID scenario was, and we worked out that way with clients. We said that let's keep on thinking, let's keep on ways, think ways to come out of this entire thing. Let's do a lot of digital in this space. A lot of brands were present in the digital medium, and then of course, we had to ensure that these brands were doing something. They were not sitting idle, because people at this point in time, they were very, very, cautious. They didn't know what to do. They were not open to interactive with brands. So if I was going to tell someone, go and buy a toothpaste, they would actually take the brand very negatively, because their top of mind was the fact that whether I'm going to survive or not, right? So that was how the brands behaved during pandemic, and as agencies we kind of adapted ourselves accordingly. However, as time went on, with the lockdowns, getting over, with the industry opening up, the brands, slowly started coming and saying that, look, we just want to get into the so I think it started with last year's festival period, when the brands did a little bit of advertising. Then they started off, November, December, they were good. January, they're very, very excited. Again, from February onwards, we had a tough time because of the second wave coming in. Again, a lot of question marks had come in the head of the clients, but they were this time more determined. Nahi, I think this is a passing phase. We will still continue with what we wanted to do. Then what happened is there was this tremendous issue with the second wave that came up. People were, going through a very bad phase. There were deaths happening. The people were trying to look for oxygen and stuffs like that. And the brands had to stop communicating at that point in time. They said, look, there's something that's more important in this country, which is to save lives. And therefore, they went from direct, media-based advertising to service-based work. A lot of companies at that point in time had come out and said, look, I'm not spending in advertising, but yes, I am doing something for my employees. So they channelize the entire money to employ goodwill. And they said, look, I'm starting vaccination camps here, and I'm doing everything. I'll tell you about a company called TCS. TCS, the entire HR team of TCS was dedicated for 3-4 months to only help the employees during the second wave, to only help the employees find a hospital, find oxygen. If they're infected with COVID, get an online doctor, medicine supplies, get the nearest medicine supply to work, and then food supplies if you're down, if your family is down with COVID. The entire HR team was working on this. They were more like a call center. They were working 24/7, and that's where they channelized the entire resource. And they did a tremendous job for their employees. A lot of brands, they ended up doing this, and they created an atmosphere within their employees that, look, you have to help each other in this time. That again worked for about 2-3 months, and after we slowly moved out of the second wave, then the brands have started to spend again. We are in the festival season. You see lots of ads happening, with all fingers crossed that we are not going to hit a third wave. So much of vaccination has been done. It's a wait and watch situation. However, the brands now know what exactly they have to do. We as agencies, we also know how to talk to these clients, and there's an understanding. So it's not an unknown space today. Well, it started off as one. So that's how the entire story of pandemic, advertising, and industry and the agency has been. Yes, one more question. I can see someone raising a hand.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding writing. If My question is, what we need to keep on focus if we want to good in writing for advertising. Just like what the tool and technique we keep handy if we want to good in writing for advertising, especially.
Okay, very simple. This is a very simple thing that you need to do. Use less words, say more, and use very simple words. These are the three things that you need to do. Your target is not to write more, but write less by using simple words. And then you have to tell whatever has to be told. Now, how do you approach writing? Is very simple. Once you get a brief, you know exactly what your client wants out of this piece of communication, and you just focus on that and write about that in a way that it is very easily understood. It says what has to be said, so that a person is not spending a lot of time reading it. And then you have to use you have to craft it in a way so that it becomes memorable, right? You have to create those lines. And that's precisely what advertising writing is all about. However, there are special cases where you need to write a lot. There are copy-based ads that have come out, but there are very few of them which have actually happened. But then if copy-based ads are needed, like I said, for a auto client, as in for a car or a two-wheeler, where you need to write a lot of technical stuffs and things like that, you need to write technical things. That's precisely how it happens, right? People want to read all those things. But if you really want to improve your craft in writing, these are the three things that you do. Use lesser words, use and simpler words, so that everyone understands. And everyone, I mean, it starts from a class 6 student. That person, that kid should also understand the words. However, you'll have target audience, of course, but everyone should understand, and then it should talk everything that is required in that particular brief. So that's how you start writing. Okay, small is beautiful here. Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, you were talking about negotiation part. So sir, sometimes ऐसा होता है कि हम कन्विंस नहीं कर पाते अपनी लाइक जो हमें प्राइस चाहिए उस प्राइस पे कस्टमर को नहीं ला पाते, तो सर उस टाइम पे हमें क्या करना चाहिए, कैसे उन्हें कन्विंस करना चाहिए?
The art of negotiation is a very different art. Okay, the way I approach, I can tell you there is. I don't think there is any formula for that, but I can just tell you how I approach. I try to convince the client in telling that, look, the amount of effort and time that I'm giving, that has a certain value, and that I am going to do some tremendously good work for you. So I am asking for this money. So I think that's the first thing that I try to talk to the client with. And if the client says that, look, it looks a little higher to me, and I immediately tell the client that you have chosen me because of a certain skill set that you find good in me, and that's the reason why you want me to work for you. And therefore this skill set comes at a price, and since it is different to what others are doing, and that's why you have at the first place chosen me, it would do well that if you pay me that amount of money. Again, that might not be convincing enough. So of course the client would always want to get the monies down. And when it reaches a point where he says that, nee, I don't want to spend more than X amount of rupees, we kind of go back and say, look, we therefore can't give you more than Y amount of things. I think that's how it happens. Agar humko 10 cheese dena tha, we'll say that, look, take 8 things. We'll do it at this rate. For the other 2 things, we work on a card rate. And whenever you need it, you get it from us. I think that works pretty well. The client at certain time understands that this negotiation, that if he's paying less, he's getting less. That more or less does the trick in most of the cases. Of course, this is for private companies. For government companies, the scenario is absolutely different. They would always look at the lowest bidder, and whoever has asked for the lowest rate, you hardly have any scope of negotiation there. But for your private players, you can do these kind of negotiations. You can discuss on your scope of work. You can evaluate that and put your price accordingly. And then we also have gone to the extent of talking to certain clients and saying that, look, why don't you try out a midway rate for the first few months, maybe for the first 3 months. If you don't like us, we don't renew the retainership. If you like us, then you increase the retainership. I think those are still grounds of negotiation. Again, it's a tact that you have to use very carefully, understanding the client. And I would reiterate again that negotiations are very easy when you have a certain relation with the client. So try and build that one first, okay? Either through your homework or through your social connect or through any connects, build up that relationship so the client loves to be a part of your entire work process. He would want you to work for you. He would want to work with you. If that happens, then negotiation becomes very easy. And there's hardly, if the client really wants to work with you, he'll find a way to negotiate. So I'll tell you, the current negotiation I am going into, and we have not completed. The negotiation is going on for the last, I think, 2 months. Okay, and there is no again fixed time for negotiation. So here's the real estate client. We have already pitched to the client, and he has liked our idea, and he said, "Look, I'm going to do this." Now he comes back and tells me that I'm going to give you this kind of money. I said, very good. There is we've tried to negotiate on the cost, and then we fixed up a midway, and we said, okay, fine, we'll work on this rate. Now the client comes and tells me that, look, this will be project based, and it will not have an end date, because there is a possibility that my project, in the sense my real estate project, might get deferred, as it more or less happens. So we have said that, look, it can't happen that I create an idea today and I have to keep on working on it for 2 years, 3 years, because your project is getting delayed. So we have currently told the client that that's not going to happen. You have to sign a paper with me, and you have to tell me that whenever my project is ready, I am going to come to you, say 2 months or 3 months before that. And that's the time when my work starts. I'm not going to work before that. When you know that my project is going to get ready, I want to go to market with advertising, then you take my services. I am not available for you today. So that's what we have said. So put an end date with your project date and put the starting date 2 months before that. Don't put the starting date today. And that's what we are negotiating with them, and they're pretty okay with this as of now. So they said, okay, fine, this looks better. So we're now on the course of closing that deal, and still it works. Again, another way of negotiating. It's horses for courses. So there is nothing that is very fixed, and you have to keep on coming up. As I said, once you are getting into that habit of ideating and strategizing, you also will make ideas and strategies for negotiation. That's also going to happen. And that's what happens in life. Okay, any other question, or we call it a day today, and we'll come back tomorrow again? Anyone else with the last question of the day? Okay, there is no task for today other than the fact that if you find some really exciting ads, exciting campaigns, just keep a note of them, because tomorrow you might want to ask me about those campaigns, right? You want me to talk to you about a particular campaign, please be ready with that. I'll share it with your teacher so that I get those campaigns. If you really want me to talk about some of those campaigns, I can really come back and talk to you. So I'll keep a certain amount of time, maybe the last 45 minutes, to talk on the campaigns that you have sent me. And if you have any particular question on those particular campaigns, we will talk about campaigns tomorrow at large. So just put a note, write a question, send me those ads, send it to your teacher, and maybe by again tomorrow. Today let's put a timeline. So maybe by say 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you send it to your teacher, and your sir or ma'am can WhatsApp to me by end of day, so that I am ready with it. Tomorrow we are having our class in the second half. So I'll come and talk to you at length about those campaigns also, and if there's very specific questions about those campaigns. Okay, so thank you so much for today.
I hope I'm audible, sir.
Yes, yes, you are.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you have given some of the Guru mantras to the students today. And they should definitely use them. All the things that you have said, and you have shared your personal experience as well, which will definitely help them only if they implement it. And I saw them writing also and making some points on in the copies. I hope they'll use it. So thank you so much. I'll
Thank
see
you
you
so much.
tomorrow, sir. And thank you so much.